and I'm sure something is going live. Hope you all are well. Hope you all can hear me. I decided to bring about a couple of props. Probably can't see that if they're out of focus. And yeah, welcome to today's stream. It's goodbye 2022 and it's 2023 predictions. So the reason why I'm doing this is because apparently I did one last year, and it's been such a silly busy year that I completely forgot I did one. So yeah, kudos to everybody who is in the Discord channel for saying, Ian, you should do a predictions video, see how well you did your previous predictions. That's what this is. So yeah, cheers. Welcome to everybody who's here. Chess, Warren, Marvin, YJ, Sam, Mark, Luis, Monster Cameron, Kofasa, the Plebiscide. Hope you all have had a good holiday. And yeah, Jeff's also in chat. Hi Jeff. Hope you're feeling a lot better. Good luck with all the medical stuff, mate. You and Wendell, you both seem to be a bit in the wars. So let's see. Is everything working? I actually did write something of a script here. So let's see if I can bring that up. At least for me anyway. Because my god, this year's been an absolute mess. Yeah, well, this year, 2022 has been an absolute crazy. I'm not sure whether it was just because it was crazy last quarter of the year or what, but there's been a lot going on. So this is a free flowing discussion, so I can read chat at least on some level. So, got any comments? Please do put them in the chat. But let's go over where we were kind of this time last year. So, Jeff, if you're planning a collab with Wendell at some point, you know how often I travel to the States. If I'd have known you'd been at Patrick Kennedy's that week, I perhaps would have stayed. But yeah, no, that just was weird how that worked out. But yeah, so this time last year, where were we at? James Webb Telescope had just launched in 21. Travel to events had just started. However, Omicron had just hit as well. I did a 3-week trip at the end of 2021, taking in Qualcomm event, IEEE. That was when I also did my Intel Fab tour with Jeff, and I was also in Austin and Dallas for a couple of days, and then Omicron hit, and then we all went straight back to zero. It was about that time where we were still experiencing extreme shortages of CPUs, of GPUs. DDR5 memory was also still very hard to come by. You remember that time where people were paying $3,000 for a 3090 Ti? That was, yeah. I've been looking at prices of 4090s recently, and they're about, I don't know. You get on a good deal 1700. So back when people were paying 3,000, that was insane. This time last year, I was still at Anantech. I'm going to speak a little bit about that. And this time last year, Intel was still promising GPUs in the first quarter of 22. Yeah, Jeff, if you come to the UK first half of the year, let me know. So yeah, so what's happened in 2022? I'll be honest, it has been a little bit of a whirlwind. I'm pretty sure I'm going to miss stuff. So everybody who can remember stuff in 2022, stick it in the chat. But yeah, shortages have slowly, quote unquote, got back to normal, kinda. Obviously, with the crypto downturn, I've seen actually a good number of people suggest that the crypto downturn was also because the NFT market crashed. The reason why it went up was because of the NFT market a lot. So NFTs to mint one cost about anywhere from 50 to $100. That was driving up the Ethereum chain. That had a knock-on effect. And then when the bottom of the NFT market dropped out because nobody wants to buy a receipt for an image, yeah, then suddenly a lot of shortages got back to normal um, when the bottom came out of the Ethereum market. Also, we had the Ethereum fork as well. That happened, but there are still a lot of markets that are still experiencing severe shortages. A lot of microcontrollers, a lot of like things like NOR flash. I've spoken to companies and they're saying they still can only supply 50% of what their customers need through to 2025. So there are still plenty of industries that need silicon. So on top of that, so many new fabs being announced. Ohio, Germany for Intel, Arizona for TSMC, Texas for Samsung. Some of those have been put on hold. Some of them have been sort of hedged their bets. For example, one of Intel's fabs that's being half funded by an investment firm. So with Intel taking those sort of lower margins and then a lot of investment, but then also keeping their financial compensation for shareholders high, the EPS is still high. It's yeah, on the silicon shortages actually, especially on the car stuff, I would always tune into the tech deal streams because he used to focus on that quite a lot. They're not doing any streams recently, but yeah. Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody joining in. John, Nobody in Opinion, Brendan, Manuel, Mark, Nahemoth, David. Welcome. Just shooting the breeze of what happened in the past year. So of course everybody waited around for GPUs last year. I remember saying in Q1, Q2 to Intel, they were saying we're going to do 4 million units in 2022. We said the quicker you get them out, the quicker, it doesn't matter if they're competitive, they will just sell. And they kind of missed that, really. And, for better for worse, speaking to Ryan Shrout, speaking to Tom Peterson over at Intel, they know it. They know it. Regarding the Germany fab, one of the issues with the Germany fab that I keep pointing out to people is the size. So Intel has pledged that Germany fab in Magdeburg the clean room is the size of 2 football fields. Now, the expansion in Oregon that happened at the beginning of last year was 5 football fields. So Magdeburg being only 2 football fields coming online in 2027 is only 40% of what the Oregon fab has just expanded to. So, yeah. Don't think about the numbers of fabs. Think about it in terms of clean room space. So, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many of those shells actually get built out, because Intel's already taking the hit in terms of the gross margins. But hey, they got new products coming out, so here we have 4th generation Xeon Scalable Sapphire Rapids, and that's going up against Genoa, and you probably can't see it on stream, and I've got Windows blocking my way, but I've actually got all these standing on top of my Genoa server right now, and even in the background side there's a big AMD Epic sign that came with our review units. So, yeah. Mark, thanks for the $20. Really appreciated. You didn't have to. especially because I now have a new merch store, which we'll get into. I've got that planned for a little bit later. But yeah. Uh, Gustavo, Intel 4 is ready for high volume manufacturing in theory, but no products are announced. Technically, there are 2 products announced already. We have on Intel 4 Loihi 2, which is a neuromorphic research chip, and the Bonanza Mine blockchain scale ASIC. So there are two small chips. One's 14 square millimeters, the other one's about 28 square millimeters. The idea is that these are pipe cleaners to help improve the yield. So yeah, that Intel 4 is going to be coming online. It's the phrase Intel uses is ready to manufacture, which is the start of HBM ramp. So there is that. Platin 21, does Intel get machines in faster in Germany just by distance? I'm not sure what that question means. But if we look at Intel's investment in Europe, I think what's more important is than the investment in Germany is the investment in Italy with the new packaging facility in northern Italy, $4.5 billion. Because there's no point building the chips in Magdeburg to ship them somewhere else in the world to package, to bring them back to Europe for the automotive industry. They need to be packaged in Europe. And the facility in Italy is meant to do that. And the benefit of that is, even if they build them somewhere else, like Israel or Arizona or Oregon, then they can be sent to be packaged in Italy right on the doorstep of the automotive manufacturers. So there is that. VC Jester, thank you for the $5. Happy New Year to you, sir, as well. And Monster, you're asking about analog compute dead now that Mythic is dead, or is IBM still researching? Funnily enough, I have a 99% completed video on that I need to get to in the next couple of days here, and that might go out by the end of the week, depending on how busy CES is. So, thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. But I want to get into what happened in Q4 of 2022. Because Q4 was a massive quarter for those of us in the industry who covers all this stuff. I mean, I did Q4, I'm including September in this. I did 65,000 miles air travel. For those of you who have been in Discord or following me on Twitter will know I've been pinging from the US back and forth quite a lot. Either for 2-week trips where I've managed to bundle a few things together, or for one-off 2-day trips back and forth, just to be at briefings, just to be at launches, in a couple of instances to even give talks at client events, but I'll go into that. So yeah, Q4 we had, and I need to keep explaining this to people, and I hope you guys all understand, we had the equivalent of about a year and a half's worth of launches in the space of 3 months. So that's new CPUs from AMD in Zen 4, new CPUs from Intel in Raptor Lake. We had new enterprise CPUs from AMD in Genoa, new enterprise CPUs from Intel, and then Max CPU and GPU are also announced. And then new GPUs from Intel, from AMD, and from NVIDIA. So that's 7 different product lines in consumer and enterprise CPU, GPU. Normally that stuff takes 6 quarters to launch. It's going to be it just means we're going to go into a period now where it's going to be a little bit quiet. I mean, CES is just around the corner. In Vegas, that's next week. I'm not going because every time I was asking people about it, I said, "What are you launching?" And they said, "Come and find out." And I just went, "No." But we're gonna have. I assume we're gonna have, new mobile chips, CPU, GPU, and then lots of new laptops. So, I mean, I'm getting to a point now where I'm just more interested in the chips than I am in the products. But yeah, so interestingly, do I have them to hand here? Yeah, we've got. Uh, AMD sent me their new GPUs. Intel has sent me their GPUs. They're over there. Nvidia don't send me squat. But that's because I've never really had a proper dialogue with Nvidia. If anybody from Nvidia does end up watching this, reach out. Let's have a chat. It's I've been using you guys since my PhD days, since CUDA 2.0 days. So yeah, it's uh, it's been a busy Q4. Um, uh, People asking about merchandise. We'll get to merch, so don't worry. David is asking, is the ramp up in new production space built for production under 22 micron or nanometer? If so, will we see an improvement in performance, new generation of small board computers, etc.? Oh yeah, that's another product that's announced on Intel 4. I forgot to mention. The Sci-5 platform Horse Creek is built on Intel 4. And I'm hoping that to be available kind of towards the end of the year as well. So it's not going to be, leading edge sci-fi cores, but it's still going to be interesting development. So my hair looks like a Thermaltake heatsink. Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy day, and it's been a bit warm here. So tinkering with a long time Pi project, Jeff. You still got that petabyte hanging around? So still envious. It's just out of shot here, and I just realised the camera's perhaps not straight. I wonder if I can change that. But yeah, it's the oh, transformations in Streamlabs are a bit weird. Anyway, yeah, I'm running about 500 terabytes now, and they're all completely different drives, so it's very annoying. Off-topic question: do you use the same airline company to gain up points to get free flights as holidays? Yes, I use oneworld between BA and American. American have all the hubs that I need in the US, and there's just enough around that. I rarely go to Delta hubs or like Virgin hubs or United hubs. I'm always ended up in American Airlines hubs in the US, so that makes it very easy. Bite Rurutu says bite the GPU. I need to actually take it out of the box. I remember they sent me an email saying we've got an unboxing embargo and a review embargo in the next couple of weeks. Do you want them? And I said yes, but I will be out of the country until that date. And they said no problem. So I actually need to get one of the actually get round to testing them. So. Oh, they sent me a GPU with a broken cooler. I started to see a little bit of noise from DeBauer, from Roman about that, and some official noises. But Mark, do you have one of those unlimited flight passes? They don't sell those anymore. I know what you're talking about, and I think Mark Cuban has one. But I think they only ever sold about 20 to 30. So. And they've rescinded a couple of those over time. User asks, what PhD do you have? If you look at my channel under the live stream section, I've got a good 2.5 hour video where I go through my entire PhD. It's worth a watch. If not, just take the first 20 minutes. But it's in computational chemistry, so I keep saying apologies. Should I either building a RAM-focused workstation with Sapphire Rapids SP, or are the improvements coming in later generations going to be worth waiting for? Assume no big rush. The problem is, if you're looking for like workstation, there's no real good workstation chips that are. I mean, you can go Threadripper Pro 5000. There's no word on 7000. There's no word on if there's going to be a Sapphire Rapids workstation chip yet. So yeah, it's I keep going back and forth between whether I want to build a new system based on a consumer chip or a workstation chip. And every time I want to think slightly outside the box, I realize I have to use I have to use an enterprise chip simply because of the PCIe lanes. I mean, I've only found one board, I think, one AM5 board that will actually bifurcate down to by 8 by 4 by 4 by 4. So, yeah. Platin 21, I haven't checked my GPU. GPU still in the box. And the Red Dog 223, Threadripper 4 will come out first quarter 24. Funnily enough, that's in my predictions schedule. I, I I thought about that. So, Monster Cameron asks, what type of visa do I use? For traveling to the US, I have a media visa, which is an I visa, because I'm still classified as a journalist for a lot of those trips that I do. I do know I need a new one in 24, and I'm not sure how that works when I'm now self-employed. I'm gonna keep one of the things I've started over the new year is a Substack newsletter, and based on experiences I've heard, it's much easier to get a media visa if you have a written outlet than if you have a video outlet, because if you have a video outlet, you might be called an influencer, and an influencer requires a different visa to enter the US. So yeah, there is that. Mike, thank you for the $9.99. You didn't have to, honestly. Do you expect any technology to come out to replace Optane for the insane latency and ups? No. No, I do not. And it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. I mean, we already know that Sapphire Rapids is going to support Crow's Pass, which is the DDR5 version of Optane DCPMM. And I've asked for some, but Intel haven't given me any now to date, so I don't know if they're going to give me any in the future. I'd love to. I'd love to get like a dual Sapphire Rapids system with lots of Optane inside. So, Kioxia bought Optane. No, Optane just died. Frederick asks, is the launch of Genoa, Genoa X, and Bergamo a bit close together, or is the pace nothing out as the usual? I think it'll be a bit more extended than most people realize. I mean, so Genoa's out now. We've got Genoa X and Bergamo are probably going to come out Q2, Q3, Q4, and then Sienna right at the end of that. So, yeah. I don't think it's out of pace. What they're doing is, instead of having that sort of 18-month cycle between launches, excuse me, they're putting a new product in kind of inside every 3 to 6 months in that window. So, do I follow Power Electronics, who is supplying the power switching semiconductors for the EV market? I think Infineon do some of that stuff. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think Infineon are one of the big players, but there are a few others as well. Yeah. So some of this leaky stuff, people suggesting, yeah, I don't particularly follow it just because I think it's a load of bollocks. Otto's asks, are you going to CES? No. After all the traveling that I've been doing in Q4, yeah, I'm not. It's not that. So, CES as a journalist, when I used to go, I would have 50, 60 meetings over the week, every day, 7 or 8. You'd plan it ages in advance. You'd say meeting here, meeting here, meeting here. You'd try and make sure you had all the meetings in the same place on the same day and minimize travel. As an analyst, I don't need to do that. So one company that I haven't worked with before on the channel, but I have exchanged emails with before, did offer me an influencer package to go out, report on their event, do a small video, do a few tweets. It's a company I think you guys would definitely be interested in. Um, they're involved more in the sort of chemicals industry, but it's chemicals for electronics, and they're going to do presentations about gaming and um, you augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse stuff. And I could have spun that into an interesting story, but uh, I did quote them a price, but then I turned around and said, "Look, it's too close to a few things happening at home. I'm having some work done on the house, like literally straight after CES, and I thought there's no point just going out there, coming back while a lot of stuff is going on at home that I need to deal with. Plus, there are no CPU launches, GPU launches, enterprise CPU launches. They've all happened. Everything else is quote unquote minor. I mean, we still expect to see some mobile stuff and whatever. So yeah, it's J JW Dickinson enjoying your 5800X 3D. That's the system I'm streaming on now. Is with my 5800X 3D, and I also use it for stable diffusion models. So I'm not planning to pull an all-nighter, no. Though yes, I know it is late. I did actually have. See if I can ping up. Hey, let's stick up some PDT time. So yeah, it's some leaks about Sapphire Rapids workstations. I want them to announce it first. And yeah, cell phone holders for CPUs. Let's get it in focus. This one and this one isn't held on tightly. I've already dropped. It's not every day you say you've dropped a 96 core Genoa CPU, but yeah, it's a good thing I didn't do that on camera. Otherwise, Linus would have a competition with Linus. So yeah, hey Donnie, how's it going? Hey Patrick. James, I do see your question. I know you've asked it a couple of times. Uh, it's a question for a longer video, I'll be honest. Kevin, am I getting a new studio on the house? No, expanding kitchen, getting a new kitchen. I'm in a house that essentially hasn't been updated since the 70s, so it needs some modernization. And with that, we're about half an hour into the stream, and one thing that happened to me in 2022 that it perhaps would be worth covering in a separate video, but I still want to cover it over here, is the fact that this time last year I was with AnandTech. Andre had just left, and we did the prediction stream, and I was still at AnandTech, and then I left AnandTech to become an analyst. I handed in my notice after CES. I had to give 7 weeks notice just because of the way the contracts work, and by the end of February I was on my own. And you guys, those of you who follow the channel, those of you who have liked and subscribed and watched a few of my videos, will know that I did, a whole future thing, and I have, the channel TechTechPotato, but I also have my now analyst firm, More Than More. So I became an analyst. What is an analyst, you may ask? So media's role is to go out there and to review hardware and provide purchasing advice to end users or to comment on the industry. What analysts do is they work with the companies with their messaging, with their position in the industry, in order to help improve where they are, how they're perceived, and ultimately get them in a better position of whatever they're doing. So an analyst is typically either works on contract work or on retainer work, where a company can ring up a bunch of analysts that they have on retainer and say, look, here's our new marketing program. It's in the early phase. What do you think? And the whole point is the group of analysts that they call are ones that are trusted to give them their opinion. So a lot of analysts do a lot of what they call internal communications work. Some of them also do some external communications work, such as blogs on Forbes or videos like I do. So in the same way that you would consider anything you hear from the company to be first party, anything you hear from the independent press is third party. An analyst is what you might call second party. So an analyst is paid by the companies to give the companies advice on what they're doing, what they're hearing, what they're seeing, and it's a way for these companies to essentially make sure they put their best foot forward and make sure what they're hearing industry all lines up. So as an analyst, as in my new role, I've kind of split it into internal comms and external comms. Internal comms is more than more, my analyst firm. External comms is TechTechPotato and part of the videos that I do on these channel, especially the sponsored videos that you've seen. And I have 4 or 5 main clients to date. So in the first year, usually the first year is very slow. I have as clients now Intel, IBM, AMD, Qualcomm, and TensorTorrent, the AI company. That's fairly new. That's really fresh, and that started today. And I'm really proud to be working with those guys because that's the Jim Keller company, right? Everybody wants to understand what they're doing. I want to understand deeper what they're doing, and I want to help them, get to a point where it's really fun for them. Now, on top of that, I have external engagements with a lot of companies. That's a combination of creating content, sponsored videos, and white papers. So companies on that include, again, Qualcomm, IBM. There's a few smaller companies you perhaps might not have heard of. I got a couple of videos in the works there that are still, TBD. IBM's probably my biggest client on that front, and it's been fun working with them because I get to they put me in positions they wouldn't put the normal press, because ultimately any sort of sponsored content, you're on their side, they're on your side, they're using you to help put out a message that the followers that you have will trust is an honest message. So the point is, I've been a journalist for so many years, I've been independent for so many years. I don't take any BS, and I actually get down deep into the reasons why things happen. And companies are reaching out to me to help them with their content, with creating external content, essentially to explain what they do. And it's been really, really fun because I've been able to do things like my biggest video of the year, the IBM Quantum video. I wouldn't have done it any other way. And I'm getting to a point now where I'm actually having to turn work down because a lot of companies are asking me, can you help us? We've got stuff we think you'd be interested in. Do we have a story here? Is usually the first question. And I do say to them, look, my audience doesn't know who you are, even though they're a technical audience, or they don't know the product. So 3/4 of, say, a 10-minute video will just simply be helping people understand what that product is and why it exists, or not necessarily the product, just the concept. So 75% of it would be the concept, and then 25% of it may be their particular solution, and that's it. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. They don't like that form of the sort of analyst role. I mean, think about every time you see an analyst that goes on TV, either to whatever the financial ones are, and they'll have analyst clients out the wazoo, but they won't say who they're affiliated with, but they're brought on because they have a more wide-ranging view of the market. So um, yeah, and if you I've said kind of how this works a few times on in various places, and those people that I work with have um, who have met me personally or seen the uh, videos at PC World. I've gone over this a little bit. So the reason why this says PT is because I'm using the scene from the Hot Chip streams, and that was set to PT. So that's just I know that if that says midnight, I've gone on too long. Uh, and yeah, so along with that analyst, I've been attending client events where I've been involved in panels, or I've even given presentations. One of the videos on the channel in December was a presentation about AI hardware that I've given at 2 events now, and I thought that those events, one of them was private, one of them was public, but you had to register. And I know a lot of people on the channel wouldn't have seen it, but would still find it interesting. So I published it of my own volition to the rest of the channel because I thought it'd be good content for you all to see. That's the 10 billion in AI hardware, and I could do a longer version of that, I think. And one of I've got a I've got a project coming up in Q1, which is going to be like a 12 episode project with Sally Woodfoxton of E Times on AI hardware. We've already filmed the first 6 episodes. We're going to film the next 6. It still all needs to be edited. There's going to be short episodes, longer podcasts, and maybe even shorts. So I know some people hate shorts, but I think in a multimedia generation, we're gonna have some of those going through. And the idea is that they are, based around the semi industry. So, uh, and yeah, uh, I will say that as an analyst, now that I'm not at Anantech anymore, benefits are I no longer have to do buyer's guides because I really hated the buyer's guides. They were a waste of my time. And yeah, to a certain extent, I felt like I was being ignored. I mean, Anantech had lost a lot of people over the last couple of years, more than, and nobody was being replaced. And due to the way that Future works, there was just honestly no support. And the people who had to support me above or had to support Anantech really didn't seem to give two shits. So it has been a bit more difficult going out on my own, though for the first sort of 3-4 months I didn't really have any major clients. It was just a little bit of bit work. But now that I'm in the financial cycle of everyone, it's picked up, and it's getting to a point where I'm now going to have to raise prices just because um just because I'm running out of time. And in the same way that an influencer raises prices in order to do some sponsored content. So there is that. I get to choose my own time and travel. I left Anantech at a time when travel is going to nil just because they're not allocating any budget to it. And I think out of all the travel I did in Q4, I think I may have paid for one set of flights and one set of hotels, but my clients were paying more than enough to cover it. So there is that. I also, in the past year, started up my newsletter, my Substack. I've been kind of faulting on that a little. I should be posting to it more. Part of being on my own is sometimes I have a wobbly work ethic, so I really need to put my foot down at some point. And I did promise saying that I'd have a merch shop, so here it is. This is the merch shop. I hope you can all see that. It's at merch.techtechpotato.com. It's the company that does it, that does the sourcing. They have distribution centers in the EU, UK, US, and Australia. So that there's right now I've only just fiddled about with it with the logo. I may be commissioning some artists to do a few more, sort of potato and wafer like artworks. If you guys want to see stuff, then you should let me know what you want to see. They do have pins and plushies, and I know a couple of people have asked about pins and plushies. There is a minimum order quantity for that, so I may just wait until um, and if wait until a point where there's a good sizable audience for that, and we'll see. So yeah, and that's the merch shop, and yeah. So rather than dumping your money in the super chats, go get yourself a t-shirt or a mug if you want one, or if you want something else, drop me a line and let me know. But yeah, I mean that's all I really had to say about analysts and my role now as an analyst. And I know there are some questions in the comments. Thanks, Donnie. Really appreciate it. And did I find Linus's tech support satisfactory? Yeah, so I was in a Linus Tech Tips video where they were doing tech support. That actually happened back in September, and that only went out in December. But I did have a genuine problem, and Jake passed me on to Linus, and then Linus said, let's do video chat, and for some reason I kept getting video chat with Jake because the system was being a bit fucky. And then Linus did have a good take on my problem. He didn't offer the fix he offered was nuke, and that was fair enough because that was what I'd been putting off. And I told him when he asked was my response satisfactory, and I said yes, though I would have also accepted just throw the thing in the bin. I'm not pleased because you haven't solved my solution, but you've done as best as you can. So that was it was fun, and I actually did fix my problem a week later by uninstalling something that I'd installed to solve the issue of Windows 10 sometimes not producing Windows previews. So yeah. John said it's authentic shilling as opposed to much of the shady stuff that happens. The IBM quantum computer video is informative, entertaining. So the funny thing about that quantum video, because it was my best performing video of the year, when I went to film that was after a day we just filmed in the 2nm fab up in Albany, and we went down to Yorktown to film the quantum stuff. I had it all scripted, and during the day, I felt that the recording went terrible. I felt like it didn't go that well. I thought the script, after saying it out loud a couple of times, was a bit meh. But it wasn't until I went into the back room to post-process it that I actually felt it went really well. There are a few edits that we had to make, and it actually went out 2 weeks later than expected. And then the first week or so of that video, it did terrible. I mean, it was doing about half my normal traffic. And then we had the Nobel Prize for Nobel Prize for Physics went to quantum computing. So suddenly all the interest in quantum computing went up. YouTube said we need to promote more quantum computing videos. And then so my video hit 1/3 views fairly quickly. And then I had to tell IBM that is not normal. Do not expect it every single time. I think they got it, but we'll see. Otto's asks, what did you find the most confusing or perplexing this 2022? I can't say I found things confusing or perplexing. I mean, I think to some extent there's some companies I disagree with their direction, but I don't know. Platin21 says, would actually be more interested in how these quantum computers work on a more lower level. I mean, do they have something like an ISA or, um, I mean, I do work with IBM. They are a client. You know, I've said it a couple of times, but they have a lot of documentation online to do with quantum computers. It's well worth a read. I mean, they even have a simulator for up to 4 qubits that you can play with and do simple operations with. And because it's 4 qubits, they can tell you what the result is most likely going to be. Anyway, so user has another question about my PhD. How I paid for it. Would you mind explaining for a minute how you paid for it if you didn't have enough, or did you receive a scholarship? So in the UK, at least before Brexit, there is a science council called the EPSRC, a European Physical Science Research Council, and my supervisor had a project approved by them, and they gave him about 100k worth of funding, and that covered my 13k a year tax-free stipend for 3 years, and I finished in 3 years, 2 weeks. So I lived off 13k a year as a PhD student. I didn't have to do any teaching because the supervisor didn't like people teaching unless they actually did the undergraduate there. PhDs in outside the US don't take 5 to 7 years. It's especially in STEM. So let's see. Stop everything jumping around. VC just asked, so you're like Gordon Ramsay. Your GPU wires are so burned you impressed Greta Thunberg. Yeah, that whole crap with Andrew Tate and being arrested in Romania. Oh my God. Why does a person like that exist? Yeah, shorts are awful on mobile, not so awful on desktop, not so bad on mobile. I get to points now where I will scroll through shorts for an hour and not realize an hour has passed. I mean, they're all really dumb and TV related, and I can't believe I'm giving people views, but whatever. Freighter asks, do you think we'll see any desktop/laptop class ARM outside of Apple in the next year or so? So Qualcomm has Orion that's meant to be coming at the end of the year. So Reto asks, why don't we see more open source BIOS/firmware from motherboard manufacturers? For example, like PCI verification settings you mentioned. We used to back in the day get lots of bifurcation. I mean, I would pull one out, but everything would be broken probably. Take this. Crash, crash, crash. This is the Gigabyte G1 Sniper 3. This is one of the LGA 11 5X sockets, maybe a Haswell or Broadwell. But yeah, it's got a PLX chip. You've got by 8 by 8 by 8 by 8, 10 SATA ports, 2 gigabit NICs. Why can't we have a board like this? That doesn't cost seven. I mean, no, nobody does PLX chips anymore. Microchip offers. So PLX was bought by Avago. Avago bought Broadcom and then renamed themselves Broadcom. And okay, I get it. There's no M.2 in here, but we have like a mSATA. But this board retailed for what? 300, 350? You want something like that today? You're not going to get it. And then of course we've got the A320M, which is a $20 AM4 motherboard, which I purchased but never did any content with, unfortunately. Yeah, so Ian was the only reason I read an Antec. Yeah, well, it's they don't post anything anymore, and the annoying thing is I know why. Unknown guy asks, are there any conflicts of interest on behalf if you're an analyst and third-party media for the same company? So as an analyst, if you do anything external that isn't sponsored, you have to specify that you have undertaken paid engagements with. So if you go look on Forbes, for example, and go to any of the analysts there that write any sort of content, whether that's Carl Freund, Bob O'Donnell, Patrick Moorhead, Anshul Sag, you'll see at the bottom it'll say, we have undertaken paid work by the following companies, and all this like 80 different companies. At the end of the descriptions of my videos, I'm not sure if this one, just because of how Streamlabs is set up, you'll see a list of all the companies I've ever worked with or undertaken paid work with. So when I I very rarely do full reviews, and I always have specifically stated when it's either sponsored, how I've done the testing, and who my affiliations are with. So there's a video coming out soon of the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. That's a paid video with Qualcomm. How but the testing is all done independently. The only thing they asked to see was the results before it goes live. And we've worked a bit on the messaging, and it's listed as a sponsored video. Now, you can take that as first-party data, you can take the second-party data, you could throw it in the bin. That's up to you. But I make sure that even if it's sponsored, I don't say anything that I don't think is honest and real. I will never put out something I know to be a lie on this channel externally. And if it turns out to be wrong, I will create a video that's a retraction. I won't delete anything. It will stay up online. I will make sure that it's registered as a retraction. It's a shame that YouTube doesn't allow you to put overlays on anymore, because otherwise you could just overlay that section. And I know with video it's different, because I know that there are certain people who will delete content they know to be wrong. That is then shown to be wrong, so they can present themselves as being more accurate overall. And I spoke in a video with Gordon about this, about the ethics of journalism. That's an hour-long chat with him. You should definitely go and watch that. So, is that mug bigger than the PC World sold me? I don't have a full nerd mug. I have a full nerd shirt. Where can you buy wafers, even defective ones? I wish I knew where. AliExpress. I mean, there's like a 50-50 chance it may break, so try and find one that comes with a Perspex case. But yeah, you can get them on AliExpress. Paul Gray wants cat toys. I'll have to ask. So for anybody that's interested, the company that's managing the merch store is called Fourth Wall. They have a link. They also manage MKBHD store. Morgana Drinks Coffee, and there's a Philip DeFranco store as well. I had a meeting with them, understood where the company was, what the deal is, what my engagement has to be, and they sound to be a fairly on rails company now. So the TechPotato needs an update. Heard anything about Qualcomm's XR3? Was that the one they just announced? I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't pay much attention to the XR stuff. So, Shraff says, "Are you going to come visit us in Poughkeepsie?" So I was in Poughkeepsie back in May with Wendell. We were driving from Albany to Yorktown. I mean, given how IBM's been today as a client, no doubt I will end up going back. I will be back in Yorktown or Albany at some point next year. They haven't asked me to go specifically to Poughkeepsie yet. I am doing a piece of content with them in Q1 where I have to go to Germany and Switzerland. That's to further to go down. That's going to be more on sort of like the Z system stuff. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Let's go back up. Will the 5990X ever be released, or was the TRX 40 a one and done platform? Perhaps at this point, one and done. I don't. Yeah, we'll get on to. We still need to go on to the predictions, but I'm just going to go finish the Q&A. Do you know anything about the machines that Intel ordered from ASML that we delivered? Mike says, yeah, Z87 has a PLX chip. Yeah, because back in those days they did. And VC just says, are you planning to try and take the world record back from Gordon? I have plans. Stefan says about the PLX chip that back in the day they were $10 or so. Now they're 100, aren't they? I think they were about 75 or so, and now they're about 500 or so. Because Broadcom doesn't want to sell to the consumer market; they just want to sell to the enterprise for things like storage. So, yeah. Hi, Catherine. How's it going? Have you thought about unlisting videos and uploading an update video that I mean, yeah, that's so Cake is suggesting that if you do something wrong, you unlist the video, post an update video, and then still link back, but it's unlisted. I mean, to a certain extent, that's all right, I guess. And then yeah, let's see, mainframe videos. Yes, there will be some mainframe videos. It's going to be very fun. Okay, so let's finish this up before we get into some of the predictions from last year and now predictions into this year. This year, video-wise on the channel, to be honest, compared to 21, wasn't that great. Part of that is just me molding into a new role. You know, when I see people like Asianometry hit 400k, and I'm really envious. Yeah, I can't wait to meet John in person. I will do that next time. Hopefully, I'm going to Computex this year. Excuse me, in 23. So let's see if we can do a collab with Asianometry. But the top 3 videos of the year were the IBM Quantum one that did really well. Number 2 was the costing for the Ryzen 9 7950X. I didn't expect that one to do so well. That's you know, somewhere like 160, 170k. And just because I thought this is the most basic of math. I recently did a tweet about the 4090, and I'm thinking, do I just do a video every new chip explaining the cost of the chip? And it's just really basic maths. Anyway, and then the third biggest video was my I'm leaving Anantech and what's my future, and that's sitting at something like 86,000 views. I mean, I started the year at about 60k. I'm now at 70, I'm like 77, which isn't that fast growth. And people say, Ian, you should have more views and more subscribers. And I'll be honest, I need to put more effort into the content that I am doing and making. I can see why the Ryzen 9 7950 costing in retrospect did well, and perhaps that's something I just keep on doing. So it's yeah. And I've got yeah, like I said, I've got some videos upcoming, including a series with Sally Wood Foxton from E Times, and I've got a few sponsor videos ready to come out. And then yeah, Jeff, you say prediction for 2023. I hit 100k subs. That was my prediction last year. So yeah, so we're about an hour in. Let's go straight into the predictions that I made roughly this time last year for 2022. And if we go back to that live stream, there's a bunch of timestamps. But so actually, no. Step back. One of the issues with doing that Ryzen 9 7950X costing video is that if you go and read half the comments, people are complaining, well, this doesn't include R&D and this doesn't include shipping. And I'm like, I know. It's bill of materials. Bill of materials is important because it provides an underlying baseline cost as you scale out. And a lot of people were complaining because they feel like bill of materials doesn't mean anything. So, and the thing is, a bill of materials is ultimately the main thing you have. You can't include things like R&D because how do you amortize that over the units? It depends how many units you're doing. Are you amortizing it over 1 year, over 2 years, over 3 years? If you're doing multiple products, then is it what proportion are you doing over which product? And on top of that, shipping can change day to day. So if I do more of those videos, and I appreciate the 130 of you who are here, and most of you I think have seen that video, please, when you see comments like that, point out that the bill of materials is still a very important number because it's ultimately what goes into the onto the balance sheet as inventory, right? R&D is accommodated in a slightly different way, and shipping is carried in a different way, but inventory numbers are important. So, yeah, okay. Oh, and I will say in 2022 as well, I visited multiple fabs. So end of 2021 was the Intel D1X Mod 3. That's their leading edge EUV fab in Oregon. I also visited the IBM 2 nanometer development fab in Albany. And then the least advanced fab I've ever been in, Intel's facility in Israel in September. That's where they mass produce Alder Lake and Raptor Lake. And the funny thing is, the first thing I did when I went into that building was notice that the ceiling is too low for EUV machines. I did actually record like an hour-and-a-half podcast with Tom Lee from IT World Canada. And annoyingly, we had to change cameras 3 times, and the quality of the video output is terrible. I did think about making it into just like an audio podcast. I just never got around to it. And to Jeff's point in the chat about, in terms of major changes, hit a stride and keep experimenting, part of it is sometimes I'm overexerting myself and realizing just how long things take to process as well. So there is recourse over the next year to at least hire somebody in to do some editing. If you think that's you, send me a line. And just to answer Khalifa's point, do you think NAND will get good enough sparse octane? No. So, and then yeah, streams with others depends on when we're together. Because I'm not going to CES. I don't think Wendell's going to CES either. I do plan on being with the PC. I'm hoping to be in San Francisco kind of end of February, so I may be doing some more stuff with PC World then. I've got a couple of videos that I did in the PC World studio, and thanks, to Adam and Gordon for letting me essentially borrow that place. With one of the projects I'm doing, I'm having to rent a studio here in London. That's costing about £1,000 a day. So to get some free time in the PC World studio is amazing. Yeah, so let's go over the predictions I have for 2022. And let's start off with one where I think I got right. And let's keep track of these. Intel Sapphire Rapids will not be general availability in 2022. So this was Intel will not essentially have all of its OEMs offering Sapphire Rapids to purchase online in a standard 2U server like this Genoa here that you can't see to buy. And yeah, I think I got that one right. I think you will agree. I got that one right. Prediction 2 for 2022. AMD will kill Threadripper and will be Threadripper Pro only in 2022. So there was a slide halfway through the year talking about future, Zen 4, Zen 5, and under Threadripper they just had the Threadripper Pro logo, not the Threadripper logo. And to be honest, at this point, the only reason why AMD would bring back regular Threadripper is if Genoa wasn't selling like hotcakes and Milan wasn't selling like hotcakes. So right now, I'm gonna say that's a win. AMD has killed Threadripper. It's going to be Threadripper Pro only, and you'll be lucky to get it. Prediction number 3. Perhaps I can put this in a text box. I don't know. This is gonna. Let's see if I can do this. Outline color black. So these are all the timestamps from. I'm gonna have to do a background on that, aren't I? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, done. So let's go for number 3. The US will have a top 500 exascale system in June 2022. I got that right. That was Frontier with the MI 250X. So that's 3-0. Number 4, someone will claim 1 nanometer transistors of 400 million transistors per square millimeter. That's an L. That's wrong. Nobody claimed over 400 million transistors per square millimeter this year. I think in 2021 we had a lot of big predictions, especially the IBM 2 nanometer, and people were claiming that TSMC paper was 1 nanometer when it wasn't. But no, we didn't really get much talk about post 1 nanometer. I did a video showcasing IMEC's roadmap, but actually let's put that there just because somebody will complain. Yeah, so yeah, that's an L. 3-1. Number 5, no Intel desktop 13th gen in 2022. We have Raptor Lake. I have it back here somewhere. And ASRock were kind enough to send me this. Yeah, out of focus there. Anyway, it's the Z790. What does the PG stand for again? I always forget. Oh, Phantom Gaming Sonic motherboard. And it's meant to have a rotating ring little display here. And yeah, I'm going to be using that for some of my testing. Yeah, it's going to be the fastest board. Gotta go fast. But yeah, no Intel desktop 13th gen in 2022. That's an L. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Number 6. The Qualcomm Nuvia chip will claim 10% IPC over Intel. Now, I made this prediction based on the fact that we were expecting the Nuvia chip to be essentially announced at the end of 2022, and they've pushed it back about 6 to 9 months. So I think that's going to be benched for next year. That has to be benched for next year. Number 7. Computex 2022 will be virtual. It was, except for the people who actually live on Taiwan. So I'll still take that as a win. Number 8, no consumer gate-all-around chip in 2022. Now, gate-all-around is the new transistor technology, and again, we didn't see any gate-all-around chips in 2022. So I'll take that as a win as well. What are we on now? If we take out the QC1, out of 7, I've got what, 5? Now number 9, Zen 4 will be delayed. Was it delayed in the end? I think it ended up being slightly. I was expecting it at Computex and it came out end of August. So yeah, it's a slight delay. Is it a big delay? I don't know. Do you count that as a win or a loss for number 9? People are saying it's late. It was late. Okay, so I'll take that as a win as well. Yeah, it was slightly delayed, but overall, no. That's yeah, that's a half point. I'll take a half point on that. This one's a definite loss. Number 10, Intel Arc will hit 10% market share. That's a definite loss. Intel Arc is nowhere near 10%. Number 11, Full Nerd will make NFTs. No, they did not. Back in the NFT craze. Number 12, no chiplet-based APUs in 2022. That's a win. Tweedle, Meteor Lake isn't gate all around, its EUV. So, yeah, number 12, no chiplet APUs in 2022. I will stand, you know, right now we don't see any fully enabled chiplet-based systems that are under $300. And this is why I said number 13, no desktop chiplet CPU under $300. That's a win. And number 14, Qualcomm will talk about stacked mobile SoCs. They haven't. So, yeah. I wasn't making a list of what I've won, how many W's. Let me go through www. I'll do it here actually. So W here, W here, yeah, L there, L there. Draw. No, that's a delay. So let's say N for that one. That's a win. That's a win. That's a draw. That's a loss. That's a loss. That's a win. That's a win. And that's a loss. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half out of 13. So, yeah. What's your minimum specification? 7.5 out of 13. What's that in percentage wise? 57.7%. So that's still a C. So yeah. Now we did have some audience predictions. I'm gonna go through that, and these would be. I'll just go through these in order, and I know a couple of the guys are in the channel, so let's go over these. Dakil, he had a few. No 3nm device in 2022. I think that's a win. MediaTek will license NVIDIA GPU. That's an L. They haven't. New console refresh in holiday 22. No. NVIDIA will terminate deal to acquire ARM in 2022. The deal was terminated, so that's a win. SoftBank will IPO ARM. They haven't. That's next year, isn't it? So that's an L. NVIDIA will have next gen on TSMC N5, entry on Samsung 5 LPP. That's not technically correct, is it? And then Microsoft will tease cloud streaming device late 2022. I don't think that's happened either. Warren. Zen 4 will have no or limited availability in 2022. That was wrong. Next gen iPhone will have limited CPU improvement due to TSMC delays. That's technically correct. Next update will be Windows 12. That's correct, but it hasn't happened. LG will expand their use of Ryzen laptops. I'm not sure about that. PCIe 4 motherboards only for Old Lake. We did. And DDR5 will be close to DDR4 pricing by November 2022. That's wrong. Matt Codgerface says TechTechPotato will get 100,000 subs in 2022. That's wrong. AC666 said 13th gen launches in 2022. That's right. NV Hopper launch in 22. That's right. AMD will launch CPU plus GPU for servers, basically MI Radeon Instinct 300. They didn't launch that, so that's a loss. Consumer PCIe 5 SSDs, loss. AMD Xilinx will complete, win. Xilinx will announce TSMC and 5 FPGAs, loss. Intel will announce Intel 4. Technically, they already had, and then TechTechPotato will sell potatoes. I haven't, sorry. Amarvia says Nuvia cores will have matrix accelerators. Well, they haven't really been announced. Ruru2 says a multi-chip consumer GPU in 2022. That's a win because obviously RDNA 3 is. And then DangerMan1337 said, will the RTX 4090 be 500 plus watts or tune it down to 450? This is perhaps my biggest L. I said it would be more like 350 and no, it's 600. So, whatever. And then we should get on to the 2023 predictions. And I'm also going to be writing some of these as we go. Feel free to butt in, but these are the ones I already gave on PC World stream for those of you who saw. And I want to go through them as they are. So for I'll put in 2023 predictions. So these are mine. Number one, Intel will hit 100 watts single core. We're already on what, 60? Let's see what that KS does. I think that's pretty important. Number two, AMD won't launch Threadripper Pro 7000 in 20. I'll clarify that in 2023. Yeah, just because they'll be selling Genoa too much, and it needs a whole new platform. So I'm expecting that to come out Q5 2023. Number three, Meteor Lake desktop won't be less than $300. And I come back to no chiplet-based consumer processor was launched for under $300 unless they were hideously cut down. Number four is a subscriber one. Again, I hit 100k, but also PC World, they hit 300k last year. And let's see if they go on to 400k. We're looking forward to seeing that. Number five, here's a hot take. AMD 16 core with Vcache will be $999. People might say that's a high price, Ian, and I perhaps agree. Perhaps a more impressive price would be $899. However, I'm going to just say $999 and see what happens. So, and then number six, Ian beats Gordon's Cinebench world record. If you haven't seen the video at PC World, so ages ago, back when Jeff at Craft Computing tested the old Xbox 360, Xbox One APU, which is like an 8-core Jaguar, he said, this is the slowest Cinebench R15 single-threaded score I've ever seen. I said, ha ha ha, I can beat that. Gordon has beat me on it. The only requirements are 64-bit CPU running a 64-bit Windows OS and a PCIe slot native. So, yeah, I've got some plans to beat that, but we'll see. Number seven, ASRock launches a Sonic GPU. So the reason why I bring this up is because this Sonic motherboard, it's officially licensed from Sega. It's got a logo somewhere. It says Sonic the Hedgehog trademark. So there can't be in it just for one motherboard. There's got to be a GPU in it as well. And number eight is another hot take. Intel refreshes Alchemist before Battle Mage. Yeah, so this is more, that I'm not sure what they would refresh it into. Maybe we get the A780 and then Tom will feel justified, but we'll see. Yeah. It's when I beat Gordon, list the record on HWBot to immortalize it. To be honest, HWBot has so many requirements now to list, um, because of Windows 10 screwing everything up. I just can't be bothered anymore. I used to enjoy posting to HWBot, but that when I realized that I was providing free data and just the whole system wasn't working, and everybody got, yeah, it just got boring in the end. I like my stability, or I like spending my free time improving my worth. So yeah, and then we have some more predictions. Yeah. Um, let's go for those. Bergamo will top out 350 watts for 128 core. No Sapphire Rapids workstation platform will come to market. Sorry, I know some of you are really looking forward to that. So yeah. What else? I should have thought of some more. I think because well, I had 13 to 14 last year. Yeah. Mm. Still not sorted. Intel will cancel one fab it had announced. Let's see, 13. What else? No Arc 5 series desktop GPUs, Arc or Battlemage. Yes, yeah. I I I do know what you mean. It is annoying sometimes. I get you. Um, 3 more AI companies will close. So not acquired. So, for example, I'm thinking more mythic rather than, say, Habana. And then... don't think I can officially make any quantum predictions, because we already have roadmaps for that. Zen 5 in 23? No, Zen 5's more 24. Yeah. So I really need to see if Samsung are still going to do a fab tour, because pre-pandemic they were thinking of doing one, and they said we want to send you an invite. And then obviously the pandemic happened, so Ian will visit 2 more fabs he hasn't before. Yes, I'm speaking to myself in the third person. Ian will gain a world record, and some of you may know what that's in relation to, but we'll see. Still working on it. No, as far as I know, the last press/analyst to ever be invited for a TSMC fab tour was the BBC in 2019, and that was for a 4-minute segment. Will we see Samsung 3nm chips in 2023? Probably. So, exactly on what though? Who knows? Even though I speak about Cerebrus a lot on this channel, I would like to do a full deep dive into their CS1. I know Patrick Kennedy did something similar at Supercomputing, but I've been to their offices a couple of times, and it'd be well worth it. With regards to... So I'm actually right in the middle of testing smartphones right now, and the funny thing is, it's let's just hide that for a second. So this smartphone is very unique because it is the only unisoc, or it is the fastest unisoc SoC that was built with TSMC 6nm with EUV, and they've since been put on the US Entity List, so they will have no more TSMC EUV chips. This is the ZTE Voyage 30S, and I have tested the chip in this phone, and I've got some data to showcase how good or bad it is, and in some aspects it's very surprising. But yeah, Unisoc's only EUV SoC, so that's going to be fun. And I've got some Dimensity 9000, 9000 Plus, all that jazz coming up. So I do want to do a video on the Huawei EUV stuff, just because I'm seeing so much crap about it. Hi Eski, Happy New Year. And I see a few more people have joined the chat as well. Regarding my the rest of my predictions, I don't know. I don't know what else I would predict. Nuvia, so given how Qualcomm, my relationship with Qualcomm is right now, basically as a fundamental SoC tester for the smartphones, I don't have that same relationship with Qualcomm's laptop division. So I don't know if they're going to put me in one of their leading positions to test that chip when it's ready at the end of the year, hopefully. So Trower Chess on the Cat Sanctuary. Me and a couple of other people have said to Qualcomm, look, if you make your event the same time as Supercomputing in 23, we're going to go to Supercomputing instead. Because it was really annoying that they were at the same time this year. It looks like people who went to Supercomputing had a great time. Now, don't get me wrong, I also had a great time at Qualcomm's event. But in order just to cover both bases, you know, we're going to alternate. So Supercomputing has already announced the dates for the event in Denver in November. Qualcomm haven't announced their dates yet, so if Qualcomm announce the same week as supercomputing, I won't be going to the Cat Sanctuary because I'll be going to supercomputing. So there is that. Okay, here's another one. We will see a 10 gigahertz CPU-Z world record. Finally, Intel's prediction of having 10 gigahertz, I mean, it will be 17 years too late and they won't be at retail, but we will see. For those who have been following, we just hit 9 gigahertz with the Asus guys, Elmore and Shimino, and a bunch of others with liquid helium on Raptor Lake. So, Nicola, have I been to the Cat Sanctuary in Kent? Are you talking about the Celia Hammond? Because I've been giving money to them every month for quite a while now. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think those are going to be my predictions going forward. There were some predictions in the Discord, mostly from Muddy. So, and just briefly, Intel Battle Mage is going to be late and still have driver issues. Meteor Lake will probably be delayed until 24. I'm not sure. Meteor Lake Desktop maybe. Meteor Lake Notebook probably not. Sapphire Rapids will be very underwhelming in clocks and performance against Genoa. Well, we'll see about that. AMD will launch multi-CCX with 3D V-Cache on consumer platform, and it will be expensive. So this goes to the 12 or 16 core with V-Cache. That might happen. Consumer DDR5 will become cheaper than DDR4. So I didn't put that in as a prediction because Micron is saying that they expect the crossover now to be Q1 2024, and then Nvidia will release a crappy low-end Ada with total price around $400. So, yeah. All in all, it's going to be, given we've just had such a busy year for launches, I think we're gonna end up having a quiet time for a little bit. Hopefully, catch up on all the sleep and all the content as well. So, yeah. Let's and regarding what Apple are doing with the M2 and the M3, yeah, we'll see. They don't engage me at all on that, but then I've not really put myself out there to cover the Apple stuff. Is LPDDR5 more expensive than DDR5? So LPDDR5 is more like DDR4 in context. So yeah, don't get LPDDR5 confused with DDR5. It's different standards. It's not just back in the LPDDR3 days, it was just simply lower voltage and a higher standard to build to. Now it's kind of diverged a little bit. And yeah, Nicola, IBM hit 10 gigahertz about 10 years ago. I think the point here is x86 running Windows. So, yeah, we'll see. Intel also has been talking about Rialto Bridge a lot, which is meant to be an update to Ponte Vecchio with the Max GPU. And that's meant to be the same socket, so I expect it to be the similar sort of architecture. Whether it's kind of Battle Mage-like architecture, we don't know. Yeah, Jeff. I remember when the M1 first announced, I did do something. I can't remember whether it was for a Nantec or whether it was for the channel, and that did relatively well. So, yeah. Metalhead, Happy New Year. I'm still based in the UK. Always have been. Oh, this chair's a bit high. Myself in. Just want to put my leg underneath myself. Yeah. So, uh, Kurinil asks, will we see other players like MediaTek and Exynos enter the Windows and ARM space? Probably not. Windows on Snapdragon is called Windows on Snapdragon for a reason. It's I would hope. That being said, there is some discussion about whether MediaTek are working on it. I would hope that MediaTek, given the fact that they do call me out to their analyst summits, if they're going to do something like that, then they present it in front of me. I mean, they've just sent me a Dimensity 9000 and 9000 Plus. I want the Dimensity 9200 to come in to test that, to see how that performs against Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. I hope that the same people who are seeing me put out those results are going to say, Ian, we're thinking of doing Windows. Come test our stuff before it gets launched. So, we'll see. Gareth asks, will 4 DDR5 DIMMs be stable on AM5? So, back this time last year, I even said DDR5 was originally designed to be 1 DIMM per channel. Just 1. And the only reason that we have 2 DIMMs per channel, so it's now 32-bit channels, but you know what I mean. The only reason why we have 2 DIMMs per 64-bit channel is because of high capacity in the server space. At some point, we are going to go where it's only 1 DIMM per 64-bit channel, or 1 DIMM per, yeah. And that's going to be maximum supported, and realistically, we should be there today. Part of the problem is that the memory hasn't gone double density yet, and part of that is because what they really should mandate is ECC, proper ECC on all consumer platforms, but then we no longer have high-speed memory, and people complain about that. So yeah, if we had ECC mandated, we'd be on 1 DIMM per channel already. And whether we're going to have to wait until DDR6, which is a 2029 timeframe product, 27, 28 timeframe product. So yeah, it's we'll see. Any RISC-V predictions? So the Sci-Fi guys, you may have noticed, have been doing a few ad spots on the channel. That agreement's coming to a close. However, I'll see if they continue, and we'll see if they want to get more involved with some of their announcements. Thing is, with being an analyst is when you're a journalist, you're expected to cover a lot of news. As an analyst, you don't cover news in the same way. I mean, I could do 100 3-minute videos covering news of the day, and it'd be great if I had an editor to do that. I don't think that's the sort of stuff you guys want to see. And if I don't do that, the way these companies work is, if they see you talking more about them, then they engage more with you. It's kind of like a multiplicative process. So we'll see on the RISC-V stuff. I'm more interested in where the high performance RISC-V cores are going to be. Part of that is Ascalon with Tens Torrent, which Jim Keller showcased at the TSMC OIP ecosystem conference. That's going to be a high performance RISC-V core, and given that now I'm an analyst with Tens Torrent, I may get some more insight into that, and I may even get some time with Jim. Let's see. I'll be really looking forward to that. So yeah. PCI 5 SSDs are essentially coming after CES. We know that. I've actually got an E26 controller in my wallet that I carry around because the Phison rep gave it to me. So an affordable Windows tablet on MediaTek would be interesting. So I said to the MediaTek guys, look, if you want to go into that Windows on ARM space, do a mini PC like Project Volterra. And I know Jeff's got one, and I need to ask for one. Um, and that's an ATX Gen 3, which is Quad A78s and Quad A55s, I think. Oh no, Quad X1s and Quad A78s. And it's expensive for what it is, but it's a dev kit. And the whole point is, if you want to do a Windows and ARM laptop, start with a mini PC, make 20,000 of them, and sell them. That for like $600. Okay, you make a small amount in each one, and it's a low run thing. But then people understand your platform and start running stuff on your hardware, and then from that you build up a base of developers interested in learning how to use your hardware. And work out all the foibles before you start looking at tablets or laptops, that sort of thing. Heck, I'd love to get one. That drink's done now. It's gone to the next one. I wonder if Huawei will keep making phones by the end of the year, considering they have run out of their in-house chips. Walkman blog. I've got a feeling that they will still continue with sort of mid-range Qualcomm chips. I mean, Honor seems to be doing all right. They just won't have the value add of their own solution. So, is there a quad-channel Sapphire Rapids? Would anyone buy it if there wasn't a lower cost platform to go with it? The thing is, a workstation platform back in the day, high-end desktop, you could build a good high-end desktop, either X58 or X79 or X99 or even X299. You could get CPU, motherboard, and perhaps memory for anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 US. If the chips start at 2,000 and the board start at 1,000, then there has to be a true workstation like a Threadripper, but then you still need to do volume, but it's naturally a low volume part, and you still have to support the platform. This is why companies don't want to do it anymore. What's your opinion on Geeker One? Are they reliable? They do some nice testing with smartphone chips, including very detailed power performance curves. Yeah, Geeker One's okay. It's a bit hit and miss. They obviously focus purely on smartphones, and I come in and out of smartphones, like I come in and out of CPUs and AI chips and stuff. Having detailed power performance curves is always really good from a chip's perspective. Do they run spec? Or the spec they run is a bit weird, and we're not sure how it's done. I mean, heck, if it gets to a point where I can go meet them and sort of validate their testing and give a seal of approval, that'd be fun. Sure. And then the same with Golden Reviewer. It's that sort of thing. Sometimes I see the Golden Reviewer stuff being a bit more weird. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't necessarily unless people are in the Discord saying, messaging me saying, Ian, you should look at this. What are your thoughts? I don't tend to watch. I'm sorry. You're trying to get one of the new RISC-V boards still. One of the new RISC-V boards. Do you mean? Do you mean one of these, Jeff? Still sealed. And now I'm a bit behind. No, I have taken it out. Or somebody has. This... oh, I didn't realise it. Wait, how is this powered? No, it is full ATX power supply. Yeah, I haven't even taken that out of the box. I haven't had that much time. So maybe it's time I need a lab. I need a lab. So these are all sold out. The only way you can get one is if they're secondhand. At this point, it was a limited production run, and what they're putting all of their putting all of their eggs. They expect Horse Creek to be a much better jump off. So yeah, if you in terms of how many boards, I think it was very, very low 5 figures. Maybe even exactly 5 figures. Because they were sold for $666. Yeah, so I don't know. Nicola says, why would you do that when there is the Intel NUC? You mean like the Volterra? I mean, it because it's easier to develop on a system that you can just hook up to monitor, hook up to a USB, rather than having to deal with a laptop and any sort of thermal issues and any sort of additional driver issues. And if you just have it in a box that you can just put in and is or remote in, then it just makes it so much easier. User asks, what do you do to pass time on the plane since you travel so often and there are downsides of time such as hard concentration reading because being with many people or airplane mode, etc. So when I was at Anantech, I would spend a 10-hour flight and I'd write about 10,000 words because I'd have the research. I basically the only thing stopping me putting words on a page at that point would be just doing it and having 10 hours, no internet, no distractions on a plane, some good noise cancelling headphones, some good music, and I just go through. Now I either write scripts or edit videos typically, or read papers, and then again I prepare them beforehand. I once joked on one of Jeff from Craft Computing stream that I'm the sort of person who will caffeinate. So I always try and get on a plane in the morning, especially a 10-hour flight, because then you just take it as a long day, regardless of which way you're going. And I will caffeinate myself just before I get onto the plane, so such that after the 20 minutes when you're up in the air and you can actually take out your laptop again, I put on my music, and I typically listen to heavy metal, speed metal, mixture of kind of like happy hardcore. And recently there was a track I was playing that is somewhere in the region of 230, 250 BPM, but I was playing it at 2x speed. So I'm really jacked for like the whole, and that's the only thing I listened to for the whole flight. And I think I edited 2 videos, I wrote 3 scripts, and I was already preparing what I was doing to the next. And at one point, 6 hours just passed, and I didn't realize. And so I was on it. Sometimes flights don't work like that. Always make sure. So I always suggest that if you're gonna be on YouTube a lot, just get YouTube Premium. Okay, it's 17 bucks a month, 12 quid a month, whatever. But it allows you to download videos in advance. You can play them back at 2x speed, and just in the same way you pre-download a Netflix or pre-download Amazon or just load up from your Plex or whatever. Not only does it remove the ads, it helps the creators, and you just get to put a load of content on your device. So it's recommended like that. Predictions for next gen ARM Cortex. So ARM and I have a weird relationship. I won't get to it on stream. It's a relationship I'd like to rekindle where I'm able to spend more time and focus and interact with the engineers behind the next gen cores. Um, I have reached out to them. I have said I want to get involved. However, the feedback from ARM has been minimal or just frankly worse. That's something I'm working on. Nothing you guys need to worry about. But I do want to work on that for the future. It's going to be a goal. It's going to be a goal this year. So, super high-end gaming hardware died off because SLI is gone. There's no point in showing it off anymore. Yeah. It's why is there no cat on display? My cats are both asleep. And also, I don't like them walking around while I'm streaming because one of them will complain and bite something they shouldn't. Yeah. Linus is working on an Antec Light Lab. Linus has more hardware and personnel than an Antec ever had. One of the things that's happening this year is LTX, end of July. LTX is Linus's yearly kind of expo that they had to put off because it takes a year to organize and pandemic and whatnot. And last time somebody said, why isn't Ian invited to LTX? Linus said, but of course he is, or something similar. So I'm expecting an invite, a creator invite to go. I don't think there are any events around that time where I'd naturally be in, say, the Bay Area that I could just pop up to Vancouver. So we'll see. So if you plan to go on, if you plan to go to LTX, we may bump into each other. But I would like to spend some time with Gary and the team to see what the labs are doing, just because, Gary had my position at Anantech before I did, well, two before I did, and we worked together for ages while he was at ASUS as well, so we get on very well. Kuranil, I do have a Discord server. You get access to that through the Patreon. It's like $1.50 a month. That's simply because sometimes there are loonies and it just cuts them out straight away. What bands do I listen to? It's changed over time. I still listen to Dragon Force, but Spine Shank, Slipknot. I'm listening to a lot of Amaranth right now, and a couple of Richard EB's covers. Then there's this standard baby metal to a few, but there's a lot of Japanese composers that I don't know the names of, but I've just saved the music on my YouTube, or I've converted it to MP3 and I just listen to that back, and there's no way to purchase that music. And then Power Glove, but the Power Glove cover band, there's two Power Glove bands. I haven't actually listened to them in a while. Just trying to think what else is on my list. I'll have to get my phone out and have a look now. Meanwhile, my YouTube Premium is playing an Asianometry video. I got downloaded right now. Combi Christ. Amaranth, Drone Force, Baby Metal, Richard EB. Yeah. That's all it is right now. Strapping young lad, but when Devin Townsend was going through his drug phase. I don't necessarily like his drug-free phase of music, which sounds like a bad thing to say, but I don't like his new stuff. I have seen him at the Royal Albert Hall, so S3RL. I Khalifa, I only heard about last week for the one censored song. I really haven't explored anything else. Maximum the Hormone, I do have one of their albums. I haven't listened to them in a while. Uh, and then obviously Flow Go, all the sort of hyperactive Naruto theme tunes. It's yeah. So I never got into Fear Factory or Nightwish. So the reason why I listen to fast-paced music and then speed it up even further is because I feel like it's like overclocking for your brain. Right? Your brain, you work at a natural cadence, how you speak, how you think. Now imagine, yeah, and that could be a metronome and a tick, 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 tick. But imagine just slowly speeding that up, tick, 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 and you do it over years. And I've got this assumption that it helps you think faster, helps you come to conclusions faster, helps things replay in your head faster. So if you've got something in the back that's really pushing hard, then yeah, you do that over the time, and eventually it just pushes out. So, and yes, it is music of a madman. Cannibal Corpse, I never really got into. I went through the thing is, I I'm the sort of person who will stick to the sort of 12 bands that I like, and then I'll listen to solidly to either one track for the only thing I'll listen to for a month, or one album is the only thing I'll listen to um, for half a year. And I very rarely kind of move off of those. And sometimes I'll listen to a little bit of Pantera or mm, um, it's part of the videos that I watch on YouTube. Some of them are Clone Hero based, so there are a few music tracks there as well. It's yes, Jeff, you have 4 children. That is 4 too many, in my view. I'm very much a child-free person. I intend to stay that way. More power to you, but yeah, that's I travel a lot. My wife's very busy. We're happy doing what we're doing. And live type, yes, I have the add-on where you can increase the speed, but when I'm listening to it on my phone, uh, on an airplane, I only get up to 2x because that's the only thing the app provides. There is one music track that some people in the chat who are part of the Discord server may recognize. It's the rap that Lattice Semiconductor once had up on YouTube. I found it 10 years after they posted it, thought it was amazing, and then and created a copy and got it on, and then sped it up, and it was fun sped up. I then told the new PR people at Lattice, who I've worked with for years, like, this is amazing, you should do something like this. And then 2 weeks later, they take it down with a copyright strike. and I'm like, no, this is amazing. And they're like, yeah, we really shouldn't have that online. There's a tiny bit of misogyny in it, but it's meant to emulate kind of a 90s rapper video type of thing. So, but yeah. It's who currently has the more advanced packaging technology, TSMC or Intel? I'm gonna go with TSMC on that one. So what do you do to relax? I play idle games, which is wrong. I should actually be going to the gym or something. Um, I was playing an idle game the other day on Steam, and I blinked and 4 hours passed. Unfortunately, those 4 hours were 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., and I should have gone to bed. I can't react to Maximum the Hormone. I already know Maximum the Hormone. We've just turned into music chat now. Listen to Baby Shark at 2x. So, one of the... If you're familiar with internet meme culture, which I'm sure most of you are, you may have heard of Caramel Dansen, which is a Swedish song that everybody thinks is Japanese. I listened to a metal version of that. And not the Vinny one, the Richard EB one. So the forbidden track from Lattice, they've taken it down, unfortunately, and obviously can't upload it. But it may be made available on the Discord if people ask. Jinto, I actually prefer to go to bed early. If I get up early, I usually have a good working day. Unfortunately, I'm the sort of person who I will work until I'm exhausted, and then that will put me off my circadian rhythm. I actually have to force myself to go to bed early. So the fact that it's almost 2 a.m. in the UK is, a downside to that. Idle Games is in IDLE. Yeah. And Planet 886, no, I'm not going to CES this year. Caramel Dansen. So, I'll be honest, I've never listened to the original. I've only ever listened to the metal version. And I'm proud. A physical study timer. I don't know what that is, Mark. You're going to get me Googling. Send me a link to something over Twitter or Discord, because all I'm getting is study timers or clocks. So, do you keep sleep hygiene and not take devices into your bedroom? No, I have my devices with me all the time. Even it's gotten worse over the years as I've gotten older. Do I check out the Anantech forums? No, I never did. The forums are kind of like a completely separate entity to the website. So, Jeff, good to see you again. Get well soon. Hope you have a good new year. And yeah, we'll organize a meetup at some point. At least try and get to LTX, eh? And yeah, no, I do realize I've actually missed a few super chats. I'm going to go through these in reverse order. Irving Chais, Malaysian 65, thank you very much. I think they're going to try running GPT-3 on a Cerebrus. How would that affect performance? So Cerebrus a few weeks ago published essentially a pricing breakdown of how much it costs to run certain models in their cloud. And they had elements like GPT-J, I think, and a few others. And basically, using these chinchilla scaling laws and how many tokens it takes to train a model. Excuse me. I've not heard anything yet, Jeff, either. Depending on how many tokens you need, it refers to how much it costs. The prices there assume you're using four CS2s to do your training. So it's going to be interesting to see if they have anybody who takes them up on that offer. and it sounds like they've got customers lined up. So, let's see. VC Jester, thank you for the $10 and the $5. Uh, his predictions are number one, Ian will get excited for F1. Already am. Already waiting for it to start, and preseason testing starts in Bahrain in end of February, beginning of March. Can't wait. Number two, poutine will be the official food of the channel. So it won't, because I don't eat cheese curds or cheese really. That matter. I will eat melted cheese in small quantities. However, I'm one of these people who don't like cheese. I'm not lactose intolerant. I just don't like cheese. Number three, Ian will improve his Texan accent. Maybe. I'm really bad in the fact that I've got several companies wanting to advertise on videos on the channel. And the hardest part I find dealing with that is actually creating the ads in the first place. I need a video editor or something to sit down and let's knock them all out. Number four, Ian will cheat the system again on the PC World prediction episode. What he's referring to there is PC World said, we will only accept your predictions if you super chat them, and I condensed my predictions to so short that I could put 4 into one $10 super chat. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm one of these people who just I don't eat cheese, I don't eat fish. I tell a lie. I will eat a forkful of fish and I'll eat prawns. When it comes to cheese, I'll have cheese on pizza. I'll have cheese on French onion soup. And I will always, I don't like any blue cheese. And basically, if it's melted, I'll have some. I kind of like mozzarella, again, in small quantities. It's there are people who will take a big block of cheddar and just start eating it, and I just can't do that. Yeah, I'm not lactose intolerant. I just don't like it. And then yeah, the fish, and I'm one of these people who that coriander tastes of soap. Yeah, cheese on a burger is fine because it's a small amount and it's melted. Yeah, so. And I don't eat celery because if I smell it, I will vomit. Some people say celery doesn't have a smell, it's crunchy water. I'll be like, it does have a smell, I can smell it from the other room. I don't buy cheese to eat. I will have some small bits of it, or I will eat pizza. So, coriander is cilantro in the US. So, yeah. Cheese on pasta. So I've had mac and cheese a couple of times, but I don't think you'd really count that as cheese. And even then, I don't have that large amount. So. So, yeah. Metalhead. 450mm wafer standardization rollout, not going to happen. Like, ever. I think I covered that in my 450, in my 18-inch wafer video. The work's been done. It's there to be licensed. The problem is, you want to do it, you have to change like $1 trillion worth of hardware, and nobody wants to do that. So, is semiconductor chip design / architecture a good career path? Yes. So this is again another topic for a video, perhaps, because a lot of people are saying the same stuff, such as Dr. Philip Wang, who used to be CEO of TSMC, who's a researcher at Stanford, professor at Stanford. The US right now has a problem in that software engineers are paid double what hardware engineers are. So as a result, the software the software industry has got bumper people going for it, and lots of people take computer science and they get a lot of benefit out of that. However, what they're seeing is strong declines in the E's, in electrical engineering, in computer engineering, in all the sort of different subvariants they're in, because people don't see it as an exciting job. Right now, there's a strong need for skilled hardware engineers. And it's interesting because that's one of the things that's taken off in India and Southeast Asia and in China as well. Lots of people looking at hardware and hardware engineering as their career path. So, yeah, there will always be demand for skilled hardware engineers, even as we move into machine learning. So, John asks, will I be doing more on quantum computing in 2023? I haven't been approached yet. I mean, there's scope to do more. Whether a client wants to do it or whether I do it, I haven't decided yet. So, we'll see. Would you have a sister channel for educational purposes for noobs? Yes, but I can't do it by myself. It's... yeah. Yeah, for 18-inch wafers won't happen unless you're building equipment from scratch. Don't forget all the EUV and DUV tools, let alone all the metrology tools, are all built for 300. They're not built for 450, so you have to go completely design brand new ones for those. They are tens of billions of dollars of research required, and then you have to make the machine and then make it in volume to make it worth actually researching the machine. So it's only going to be an industry-wide push, and part of the reason why it failed is because the recession happened in 2008 and companies pulled out of going for it. So hey Adam, how's it going? Is Intel already doing the separation of power and logic layers in their chips? No, that's coming in 20A, which is second half 24, I think. So yeah, yeah. And with that, it's coming to 6 p.m. Pacific, or 2 a.m. UK. It's been a fairly extensive prediction stream. We've covered a lot of ground, and we've still got our chips. Travis, yes, for the Cinebench record, it has to be at stock as well. Jinto, you know where to find me. Discord's usually the best. So, and then once we hit 1 nanometer and they have nothing better to do, the longer we leave transitioning to 450 millimeter wafers, the more expensive it will be to do. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna call it a night there. Thank you all for being here. And if you've got any predictions, keep them coming. Put them in the comments, and then next year's stream will cover them as well. If you happen to be at LTX later this year, maybe I'll see you there, and we'll see if Linus sends me an invite and whatnot. So yeah, looking forward to the channel.